Topic of the morning, it seems, in studio is Board President Chris Salatino, Utica School District, and Utica's School Superintendent Bruce Karam. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Anything going on today? Anything worth talking about?
Nothing
Anything?
at all. Actually, we're just here to visit.
Just a quick little visit
Just a
here.
quick visit. And good to see you.
Okay, so 9 to 5 school days. What is so? There's a grant. What do we know for a fact?
Well, first of all, let me correct the 9 to 5. The elementary buildings start at 9, and we're looking at, under this grant, an hour and a half of additional instructional time for students. So that would be 9 to 4:30.
Okay.
At the middle school, they start at 8 o'clock. So to get that time correct, an hour and a half past their normal dismissal time or regular dismissal time of 2:15 would be 3:45. So they would go 8 to 3:45.
Got it. What is the reaction you guys are getting? We're getting some.
And I see, as I had said, I've been on the board almost 8 years, and
Yeah.
and I've gotten more calls on this particular topic than any other. And the concerns and the trepidations are rightfully so.
Yeah.
You know, again, when it's a change. But when you look at a district that's made up like our district, and there's such a need for additional education and learning, and this is specialized learning. It's math and ELA, which is where we need some assistance, especially with the population we have. So, again, I think it's a real positive and it's going to be a big help.
And there
for us.
are 9 school districts across the state that are taking advantage of this.
Right.
I believe.
And
That's correct.
And apparently, and we've started talking to some of the other districts, they're making it absolutely mandatory.
Mandatory, yeah, we have seen that too coming from the state, that to get the grant, it becomes mandatory. Obviously, one of the things that people have talked about is the numbers at the school. So it's important to get that grade up, right?
Yes.
And this would be something to help. And I heard a quote that you gave yesterday, and that was, you know, people are asking, what about sports? What about extracurricular activity? And your answer was, education has to come first.
Yeah, look, sports and extracurricular activities are very, very important. And, you know, it's important that we round out the students, too. First of all, let's take a step back, Bill, and let's go to the governor and the initiatives coming out of Albany, the new education initiatives. One of those initiatives is, you know, a longer school day in order to give additional instructional time and classroom time to students so that the curriculum and the New York State assessment testing, in order to increase, student achievement in those areas so that they reach the state benchmarks.
Yeah.
That's how this all unfolded. This is all part of that initiative. And the schools that were selected, the 5 schools that were selected, because we couldn't do all 13, because although 4.1 million is a good chunk of money, it would not be enough to cover all 13 schools. So we had to select, and what we did an analysis of the testing data, and we also got input from the building principals and the staff on the buildings that we focused in on with this grant in order to increase student grades and testing scores. And these were the 5 schools that were selected. These are the schools that need the extra help right now, and that's where our focus is from an education standpoint.
Yeah. What about how do the teachers handle this? It means a longer day for a teacher. Does it mean more money? Is it all part of the contract? How does that work?
Yeah, under this grant, we're not hiring new teachers. We're using existing staff. That's one of the criteria of the grant. And what would happen is we would pay them according to what their contract states for an hour and a half additional time. In addition to that, another hour of prep time on their own.
Wow.
So they actually would be compensated for 2.5 additional hours each day. And if a teacher did this from September to June, they can earn up to $10,000 in additional money.
And the reaction you're getting from teachers at this point?
I don't think we've had much yet. And it is, I guess it's voluntary from what I understand, so they have to volunteer for the position if they want to do it. So we're hoping that I'm sure we'll get a good turnout from the teachers.
Right. And
we have very dedicated teachers in our district.
Yeah.
They're really dedicated, and they obviously want to see our students achieve as well. So.
Yeah.
And then again, you got Common Core and APPR, and it all follows into that as well. So it does affect them directly.
Are you going with? There's been a lot of talk. Some schools are going with an additional Saturday, maybe an additional week or 2 during the summer. Are you guys moving forward on the additional time on the regular school week?
No, we have no plans at this time for a weekend instruction. I have assembled a planning committee, and the planning committee right now, as soon as we were officially notified that we received the grant, is actively researching all the grant criteria and putting together policies and procedures for this program according to what the state criteria is. And that's pretty much what we're going to follow. We're looking at basically like Monday through Thursday. So we're not even looking at Friday right now or the weekend. So
Okay.
we're looking at the additional instruction to increase student grades and student test scores so that we can get the best potential out of each and every student and educate them to the best of our ability.
So a kid that might get out at 3:45 Monday through Thursday would get out at 2:15 on Friday.
That's correct.
Okay, that's the plan.
And it's really, if you look at the time, it's really not much, it's not much of a change for the day.
Yeah.
You know, again.
I'm assuming for some parents it's beneficial in that it's going to save them in daycare costs.
Right. And it's an additional, I think that even with, we talked about extracurricular activities, you're not even impinging upon that at, when you're at 3 o'clock or 3:30, so.
Okay, we have a lot of people who want to comment on this and have questions. So we'll open up the phone lines if you want to talk about this. We have both Superintendent Bruce Karam and Board President Chris Salatino in studio. 7360186 is the telephone number. Get your questions in and we'll debate this. I got to tell you, educators, those people that are experts in the field, they all seem to be in agreement that this is something that is needed. I haven't seen anybody come out and say this is
Bill,
not something that is.
it's change.
Yeah.
And the rumor mill was at full mode yesterday as far as, what time it's going to be, 5 o'clock, our kid's not going to go home until 6. So we're able to clarify it up. And unfortunately, the state came out with a press release, and I think that's what started the ball rolling
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
We don't even have all the parameters yet. So it makes it difficult to really try to put this together for us.
Sounds par for the course.
Of course.
So, Andrew, quickly.
So with some of the extracurricular activities or maybe even sports having to take a back seat to this, will this affect future budget plans? Will it change how you approach the budget in the future with this?
Hold that answer, and I'll come back with that in a second. Hold tight. 7360186 if you want to get on the air. Good morning. We have the Utica School Board President, Chris Salatino, in studio, along with Superintendent of Schools, Bruce Karam. And the announcement came yesterday that the City of Utica School District has received a grant. This is really a state program. They've been, the governor's been talking about this. More instruction time, adding potentially 90 minutes is what we're talking about, right? 90 minutes to be added to the school day. So what do you think? 7360186 is the telephone number. And let's start with Leroy. We heard from him earlier this morning. Go ahead, man. Leroy, you there?
Yes.
Okay. You're on with the Board President and Superintendent of Schools.
Good morning.
First, I just want to let you guys know, as a parent and as a taxpayer, I'm really upset that, I had to find out about the extended school time through, the media outlets instead of through the district itself.
Well, I could answer that. First of all, when you apply for these kinds of grants, it's a toss-up in the air. You never know if you're going to get them. So there's really, there's no way to really notify anybody ahead of time because most of the time you won't get the grant. So as soon as the grant was officially notified yesterday is when we started getting all the calls. So we really didn't have any time to really get out and notify anybody yet.
The state did a
No,
public,
yeah,
they did a public release and not informing the schools. If I'm
Exactly.
correct. That's how we found
The
it.
notification came to us. I was equally as surprised yesterday because I had gotten the calls as well. So, we really weren't aware of it until the press release came out.
We didn't receive a press release. So
We did not receive a
we
press
did not
release.
receive a press release. This was something that we got by just digging around based on.
Got it.
There was something on. There were some of the
hold on,
legislators. There were some of the legislators that had actually put out because they were pushing for this for their individual home districts, and
Okay.
I think that's where it came out of. There was Facebook posts by certain legislators and things, especially some of the downstate. So, again, we were notified just when everybody else found out.
Okay. Leroy, go ahead.
And I can understand that point. But, sir, with my child's last report card, I was already given the supply list for next year, as well as being told that she needed a physical. If you gentlemen put in the grant before the school year ended, a memo should have been sent with the last report cards to everybody, at least giving them a heads up that this might be happening.
And I certainly understand, and basically what happens is we apply for hundreds of grants throughout the year. And, you just don't know if you're going to receive them or if you don't. There's no way of really knowing until we get it. And then typically now we'll start sending out letters throughout the district.
All right, Lorraine, I'm gonna move on and take some other,
Quick
yep,
question.
yep,
Just real quick and I'll hang up.
Yep.
What I really need to know is if this is going to be a voluntary program or a mandatory,
all right, is this voluntary? And what we're hearing from the state is it is not voluntary.
Well, go ahead.
Well, look, we've assembled a planning committee on this, and the planning committee right now is researching all of this information and also checking with the state education department. And we will be putting together over the next couple of weeks policy and procedures for this program. And then we will have information night, and we will also be sending out pamphlets on this program. So sometime in early August, all this information, after it's been thoroughly researched and the planning committee puts this all together, then we will know, we will have all these details out.
All
So right now
so
you don't
really,
know.
At this
But-
point, no answer.
And no answer. And
Isn't it interesting why they put this out now in July? Couldn't they have done this in March?
March,
or
when we could
awarded the
plan
grant?
for it, but how
Right.
can we have expectations of parents, even the staff, they have to prepare for their
Right.
own families, teachers.
You have a
our
month
students,
to prepare for
and that's why I said, from a board standpoint, I have to, and why obviously education is the most important part of
Yeah.
what we do, and making sure that we achieve proper test scores. I can't go ahead and move forward with something that doesn't prepare our parents and teachers, and from a board standpoint, I have to go into this very cautiously, and that's why I said, as far as I'm concerned, we're going to watch and see how we
What you
implement this
do,
this year.
all right.
Next
Bob?
year may be a different story.
Bob, go ahead. Your question.
Yeah, well, you already touched on a bit of it, but I can't believe spending $4 million involving teachers, buses, schedules and all. And then the one thing that struck out to me is if they want to. Now, I can see peer pressure here, where one kid is looking at the other kid and saying, are you seeing, are you kidding?
Right.
I mean, come on.
I can't see how they can make it. Bob brings up a good point. I can't see how they can make it voluntary.
For students, yeah.
For
students,
For
yeah.
students,
Yeah.
voluntary. I don't know how they're going to be able to pull that off. I'm going to continue with this. Leslie, I know you've been waiting. Hold tight. Bob, thanks for the call. We'll come right back here. Joining the conversation, Assemblyman Brindisi as well. It's First News Keeler in the morning at WIBX. 7360186 if you want to talk on the latest. This issue of an extended school day in the city of Utica. A grant has been placed. Assemblyman Brindisi will bring him into the conversation coming up. But Leslie has been waiting for quite a bit here. We'll go with Leslie right now. Go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah, I did have a couple of statements to make. I've been doing a little bit of research about this since it came out in the news yesterday.
Yeah.
And one thing I would like to point out is that Southampton District, that was also in the running to receive a grant, they were notified in June 17th, I believe, that they were in contention for the grant. And they did send out a letter to all the parents stating that they were in contention for the grant and that they were going to put together a group to discuss it, and that they would not change anything prior to finding out more facts and getting together this group. So I feel that there has been plenty of time to put some notification out to the parents regarding.
Well, let's just
district alone.
let's just ask right.
Bring up one other point so
Okay.
that they don't get cut off and not get a chance.
Yep.
Also, I know that they had stated Superintendent, or actually DOE President there, had said that it is voluntary, but in researching it on NICEAD, I find nothing that states it's voluntary. As a matter of fact, there's about 186 questions there about the grant, and in several different places, at least about 10 or 12 that I count, it does state that it is mandatory for every child in the building.
Oh,
So,
it is
I
mandatory.
would just maybe like those concerns as
Right.
that.
Are you
Again,
Parents are receiving all the information.
are you a teacher, Leslie?
No, I'm not. I'm a concerned parent here in the valley.
Got it. Oh, and you're in the valley, so you're not in the district, but you're in the valley.
No, I'm not in the district.
Okay.
But this is very concerning to me as a parent in regards to what other districts may go ahead and do without because if it's a mandatory program, this is without any knowledge or input from the parents. It directly affects their children. So, you know, I feel like it was kind of done all in secret here when this other district did notify their parents.
All right, well, let me get to that part.
Meeting
Let,
that this
let,
was going to happen.
let me get to that part right now. Were you guys notified in advance? You're saying other districts were notified, at least one other district.
Copy of a letter from Southampton School District that says that they had applied for the grant
Okay.
and that they were waiting to hear and that they were going to get together a group, you know, to discuss it. And that the last line of the letter says, until the district solicits the appropriate feedback, no decisions will be made. And that's from Dr. Scott Farina, Superintendent.
Okay, well, let's give them a chance to comment on that.
You know,
Go ahead, comment.
June 17th, roughly 3 weeks ago. If Southampton was unofficially notified, I wasn't at that time officially or unofficially or anything notified. So I can't explain anything with Southampton. All I could say is that we were officially notified yesterday, and that we are researching all the facts on this, all the criteria, and we are going to put together a policy and a set of procedures for this program. And then we will move forward, and we will make sure that all that information gets out to parents as soon as possible.
Yeah.
You know, I think she used the term secrecy, and we're excited about it. What's the secret?
Right.
You know, if we knew and we had the information. When Kristine called me yesterday, what did I tell you? I had no idea no idea that it even come out until, again, the news outlets that's where it got picked up originally. So again, there's no secrecy here. I mean, it's a great program, and we think it's going to benefit districts like Utica, who have a significant test score issue and such a diverse student population. This is a positive thing for us.
Leslie, which school district are you in down in the valley?
I'm in Ilion.
Okay, so
about the secrecy that I brought out is that not every parent may not want to participate. Every parent might not want their child out of the house for an extra.
Well, I got to tell you where this.
Given the choice.
Right. Here's where the secrecy hasn't been really a secret. The governor's been pretty vocal about extended school days. This has been something that's been talked about for at least a couple of years, and I do believe that this very well could be something that is implemented down the road to school districts throughout the state.
I agree. That's why
Yeah.
I'm getting involved and why
Yeah.
I feel like there needs to be more input from the parents and more, this is their children. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not given a choice. That's the issue. If it's a voluntary program, that's one thing for parents, but there are many concerned, educated parents in the Utica School District that, like I said, might not want their children. Maybe their children don't need the extra help because they're doing well already on the tests and they're excelling compared to their peers. And maybe these parents don't want their children out of the house for an extra hour and a half per day.
Yeah, Kristine?
Leslie, I think we can all agree, and some of us here are parents in this room with students in the Utica City School District. I think we can all agree that regardless of when the district was notified, whether it was 3 weeks ago or yesterday, perhaps it may have been better if the grant funding group that actually gave this grant gave it out a little earlier so that districts wouldn't have to face this in July when almost everybody is on vacation.
All right, Leslie, I'm going to break, so listen in and see what everybody else has to say. So I appreciate your time. Okay. Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi on the line here right now. Nothing can be done without controversy. Anthony, good morning, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, everybody. How's everyone this morning?
Good. Listen, you were on the school board. You're now in the part of the legislature. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first thing I would do is I would encourage everyone to keep an open mind. Something that has been reported, it was reported back in the fall in the Super Dispatch and other outlets, that the school was looking at this grant, and there was a big article in the OD about it. It's not the right thing for every district, but for a place like Utica that's high poverty, high needs, the research shows adding time to the school schedule can have a very meaningful impact on student achievement and the overall educational experience. And it's not just more time for teaching, it means more time to engage all aspects of the educational experience. There's more time for personalized academic help, there's more time for art options, music options, more time for teachers to plan and to collaborate and for professional development. So there's more time for preschool, after-school activities, there's a lot of things that go with a grant like this. It's just not more time in the classroom. It's trying to enhance the overall academic experience. And for a place like Utica, where 90% of the kids are on free and reduced lunch and it's very high poverty, research is showing that these kinds of extended school days and extended school programs have a positive impact.
I don't want to, how much that schools, how much schools and the success of education and schools in a city, how much that plays a role on the success of the city. Look at what's going on in Chicago, some of the worst schools in the country. And there's a culture that has been cultivated there over years. Look at what is happening there. I think that for especially inner city schools, it's something that really has to be, this is a problem that has to be solved.
Yeah, test scores have to get up. Student achievement has to go up. The first decision a parent looks at when they're moving to a new city is the school district. And, I think that Utica School District is one of the best in the area. I think it sometimes gets a bad rap. But in terms of the educational experience your student can receive, the diversity, number of AP programs, the technology, you really have it all in Utica School District. And when I spoke at the graduation a week ago, I told the students there, I said, if you can make it in the Utica School District, you can make it anywhere in the world, and you're going to come out well. So this is another element to helping student achievement. Pilot program is going to be at 5 school buildings. We're going to see how it goes. The district is pleased with the results, and the parents and teachers are pleased with the results. They can reapply for the grant, but again, they're starting off small, and they should, and go from there.
Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi, we appreciate it. The Utica School Board President Chris Salatino and Bruce Karam, Superintendent in studio as well. You want to comment?
I got a comment, and
Assemblyman.
Assemblyman Brindisi made a great point. Our teachers are working so diligently on the core educational skills that you tend to lack and lose the arts and the music and all of the other things that they used to have in their normal school day. So this will allow them to actually focus on some of the other ancillary educational procedures, and then of course they can still work on in that extra hour. It gives them an extra hour in the school day too, so it's an hour and a half actually. So I mean, this is really can be a positive thing. And again, my only interpretation with this is that the timing.
Yeah.
And how can we go forward into this next year? And that's where I'm going to have some concerns as a board member, which probably talks a little bit, goes into a little bit of what Leslie says, is that, here we are, we're at the last hour and we're trying to implement a major change. And it's a philosophy change in education as well, and I think that's where the difficulty comes in.
And I know that, Anthony, we wanted to talk about this nanotech, and really when you talk about education and the importance of good schools, and now we're talking about the possibility of additional jobs, nanotech. This all goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
It all goes hand in hand. The students in this area are poised to enter into a new field as well as nanotechnology and cybersecurity. And we want to make sure that they're being prepared for these jobs. That's one reason I'm working on the current technical education diploma. That's one reason why I'm hosting the Nano in Your Neighborhood Forum tonight with Councilman McKinsey and the NAACP and Refugee Center at the Sales Center to try and make sure that people living in the inner city are prepared for these jobs, that they're aware of the jobs, and that we're getting them the right help that they need to apply for these jobs. So everyone in the area can benefit from the nano boom, not just the suburbs, but all the area.
Well, talking about a city like Chicago again, all of these problems always seem to stem back to unemployment and poverty. So how do you solve that?
Well, it all comes down to education.
Yeah.
The way you break the cycle of poverty is through education. If you can provide a meaningful educational experience to a young child through pre-K and through their time in the schools, the statistics clearly show they're going to end up becoming more productive citizens. So the earlier we can get at the children for education, the more experiences we can provide for them, the better educational experience we can provide for them, the more likely they're going to break that cycle of poverty and end up becoming productive members of society.
Anthony Brindisi, that forum is tonight, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, it's open to the public, free, open to the public. It's at 6 o'clock. It's at the Sales Center. That's the building that's next to the public library at the old St. Francis School.
Across from Munson Williams. Yep.
Right across from Munson Williams, right in the auditorium there.
Mm-hmm.
So come with your questions on Nano, and we'll hopefully have some good exchange of ideas.
Anthony, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Monaski has.
Yeah, I just got a message of a couple of questions. Is this a Band-Aid or a bailout because of low test scores? If it's successful, how does it become permanent? And then how is it paid for the whole district when the grant runs out? I know that's a bunch of questions together, but that was the
They're actually great questions, and I'll let the superintendent kind of touch a little bit on that.
Actually, the way we would structure the program would not be a Band-Aid approach. It would fit into the regular day program as an extension. So it's not a Band-Aid approach, it would be a permanent approach in regards to the instruction in that regard. The funding, obviously, we could only do this if the state provides the funding. If the state no longer provides the funding, then we could no longer afford to run the program. So it's really, it's state funded driven, so, and that's how we would have to operate.
But I think that this is an initiative that the governor's pushing forward, and I have to say that this may transcend into something district-wide or school-wide or education-wide throughout New York. So, I mean, at some point, we may see this as a mandatory.
What about other
program.
schools? What about other schools across the country? So, is anybody else doing these longer school days?
Oh yes, you have many states across the nation. They go 12 months a year.
And how do they compare? How do their numbers compare?
Their test scores are higher. Their academic achievement, the student achievement is higher.
Graduation rates?
Graduation rates are higher. So the research all shows that additional instructional time can only help. It can't hurt.
Andrew.
So yeah, I had a question of extracurriculars and sports activities having to maybe take a back seat or be limited. Well, would the money for that allotted for those programs and those activities then go to change the budget in regards, just would that go into future budgets and how you approach future budgets?
No.
Like if you decrease the funding of sports or arts or something.
No, because we're not going to eliminate it. We're just going to have to adjust the schedules accordingly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we
And
can't
you're
eliminate
saying-
extracurricular
and
activities.
you are saying, like, when does the high school get out? When does Proctor get out?
Proctor gets out at 2:30.
2:30. So in this case, you'd be talking about a 90-minute increase. If it was Proctor, they'd be getting out at 4. That really wouldn't be that much of a delay when it comes to extracurricular.
No.
If it went to Proctor, which it doesn't include Proctor anyway.
No, and you don't see
Elementary students, you
element-
don't have the extracurricular anyway.
I was going to say, we
Yeah.
really don't have those after school. I mean, you may have some.
Or
modified
daycare.
sports.
Daycare is a bigger issue than
Absolutely.
extracurricular. And I would think that that this would certainly help some parents. So you don't see any changes, and you gave a firm no when it came to the extracurricular. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. This would have no effect on any other part of the budget. This program, like I said earlier, is strictly funded by the state grant. That doesn't mean we would trim other areas. There's no reason to, number one. Number two, the district and the Board of Education and myself we're firm believers and supporters of extracurricular activities and sports programs. So we are not going to touch any of those programs. And like Mr. Salatino said a little earlier, we would make amends where needed to accommodate those kinds of activities too, because we do want a well-rounded student.
Chances are that unless you're Will Smith, you're still going to have to get a job at the end of the day.
Absolutely, and
After
we are here to
graduation,
educate students, and we're here to, in support of education.
Will Smith, by the way, a great example of what can happen with
Absolutely.
extracurricular, but the chances of that happening pretty small, unfortunately for the rest of us.
Bill, if anything comes out of this program and this grant, if we can get more kids to graduate with higher grades and higher test scores, go on to college and be successful in life and have great careers, then it's all worth it.
Good way to end, but I got to add one more thing. What about will this include additional food programs for their longer snacks, dinner? I mean, what are we talking about?
Absolutely, there will be some kind of program to feed. Absolutely, if we're going to keep them longer, we will make sure that happens.
All right, and in some families, these kids are struggling when it comes to getting that.
Some
meal
of their
after
only meal they receive is what we get
Yeah,
in our district, so it's important for us to have something for them. And
All
we
right,
will.
we'll leave it at that. Gentlemen, good luck with this.
Thank you.
You have about a month to figure it all out.
Bill, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having
Always
me.
great to see everyone. Thank
All
you.
right, we'll break. News coming up in 3 minutes.